They told me humans were irrational, that they hoarded junk, obsessed over fake wars, and wasted time painting lies. So when I, an alien soldier of the Empire, threw away a set of painted figurines belonging to my human roommate, I thought nothing of it. I didn't know I had just declared war on the human soul. This is the story of how my simple mistake forced humanity to reveal why they are the most terrifying species in the cosmos. If you're ready for a story where a simple act of cleaning leads to interstellar war and unbelievable human defiance, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe and ring the bell, because this is one truth the Galactic Net doesn't want you to see. My designation is Xylan 7. I am a logistics coordinator from Cygnes Prime, a race built on order and impeccable data. My roommate John is a human, a wonderfully chaotic, illogical, and emotionally messy biological entity. Our shared housing unit was a testament to that chaos, trinkets everywhere. He called them his miniatures. One day we agreed on a cleaning cycle. It was a simple equation. Clutter equals inefficiency. I was efficient, perhaps too efficient. Among the items was a set of figurines, humans clad in bulky blue armor locked in battle with a swarm of strange purple insectoid creatures. The paint was sloppy. The anatomy of the creatures was biologically nonsensical. A quick search on the Galactic Net returned 0 results. For such a species, conclusion, a fabrication, a scam, a childish fantasy. So into the disposal chute it went. I had no idea. I had just thrown a declaration of war into the fire. The next day John was different. The usual radiant human energy was gone. He was sullen. "Hey Xylan," asked his voice low, "you didn't happen to see my ultramarines? The ones fighting the Nids?" I explained my logic, the fabrication, the poor paint quality. I thought he would thank me for saving him from his own gullibility. I was wrong. The light in his eyes didn't just dim. It was extinguished. He just nodded and walked away. For a human, silence is the loudest scream. And for the first time my perfectly ordered circuits felt a glitch, a pang of error. I consulted the human social forums, AITA. I asked. The response was unanimous: catastrophic error. I had not discarded toys, I had discarded history, art, passion, a piece of his soul. I had insulted his chapter, his emperor. The terms were confusing, but the emotion was clear. I had committed a grave cultural transgression, so I did the logical thing. I spent a significant portion of my credits to order replacement kits. Several boxes. The debt was illogical, but John's sadness was a variable my programming could not compute. The packages arrived. I opened them with a sense of accomplishment, but my systems flagged an error. The figurines were a blank gray unpainted plastic, a production fault. I returned to the forums. When I learned the terrifying truth, the paint wasn't poor quality. It was applied by hand, by John's hand. This wasn't a product. It was a craft, a ritual. My criticism wasn't of an object, but of his skill, his patience, his art. The gravity of my failure threatened to crash my entire operating system. So I decided to fix it. I would paint them myself. How hard could it be? I am a master of logistics and precision. I was wrong. So wrong. My limbs, designed for delicate circuitry, were useless for this. I wasted gallons of paint. My quarters looked like a chemical spill. Blue and red and metallic silver stained everything, including my hands. I was a failure. I had taken his broken heart, and in trying to fix it, I had only created a monstrous paint-smeared monument to my own ignorance. And that's when he found me. John stood in the doorway, staring at the catastrophe. I expected anger, fury, the primitive human rage I'd read about in xenobiology texts. Instead, he did something infinitely more frightening. He laughed, not a mean laugh, a warm, surprised, genuine human laugh. And then he sat down, he picked up a brush, and he began to teach me for hours. We worked. He showed me how to thin the paints, how to hold the brush, how to see the life in the plastic. As we painted, he talked. He told me about the world these figures came from. It wasn't a scam, it was a story, a warning. These, he said, holding up the purple insectoid tyrannid, aren't on the Net, Xylan, because thankfully they're not real. But the story is about what happens when you face something that doesn't want to talk, doesn't want to trade. It only wants to consume, to end all life. And these guys, he said, pointing to the blue-armored warriors, the ultramarines, they're the ones who say no, they stand, they fight. They hold the line no matter the cost. That's the lesson, that's the point in that moment. My processors finally made the connection. This wasn't a child's fantasy, it was a cultural memory, a doctrine, a training manual encoded in narrative form. Humanity didn't just have a military. They had a psyche permanently geared for existential war. They rehearsed for oblivion, for fun. And that's when the alarms blared. Unidentified biosignatures emerging from warp Sector 7G. They're consuming everything. They match no known species. They're by the stars, they're purple. John and I locked eyes. We both looked down at the freshly painted, horrifyingly familiar purple miniature in his hands. Story wasn't a story, it was a prophecy. The Galactic Federation was losing. Our ships were designed to fight enemies with logic, with shields, with tactics. These things. They were a swarm, a hive mind. They didn't target engines or bridges. They targeted biomass. They ate our ships, our stations, our worlds, our databases. Had no counter. Our strategies were useless. We were being erased from the bottom of the food chain. Up we were doomed, until a single illogical, emotionally messy human holding a painted piece of plastic walked onto the command bridge and said, "I think I have a plan." The admirals laughed. A plan from a tenant, based on a fiction. But they were desperate. John didn't talk about shield modulation or quantum torpedoes. He talked about synapse creatures. He identified a command node, a biological nexus directing the swarm, a weakness that our senses scanning for technology had completely missed. He'd didn't use our fleet the way we designed it. He used it like Space Marines, a precise, brutal hammer blow straight at the heart of the hive. He used boarding parties not to take over ships, but to burn them from the inside. With Prometheama, human chemical agent we used for waste disposal, he turned our garbage incinerators into the most terrifying weapon in the fleet. It was brutal, illogical, and horrifyingly effective. We watched as the alien swarm, so methodical and unstoppable, encountered a predator. It didn't understand human imagination. They had evolved to counter every known tactical system in the galaxy. They had no defense against a nightmare we dreamed up for fun. We won, not because our ships were better, but because one human's passion, a passion I had almost thrown away, held the blueprint to hell and how to shut its gates. So what is humanity's true weapon? It's not their strength or their speed. It's not even their ingenuity. It's their profound, terrifying ability to conceive of the worst monsters imaginable, and then, in the same thought, design the perfect hero to slay it. They wage wars in their minds for entertainment. So when a real one comes, they've already won it 1,000 times before. An alien empire, armed with logic and data, is no match for a species that fights with stories. This was the day we learned that a human's pastime is another species' total war. What story do you think saved the galaxy? Could you have pieced together the clues from a painted lie? Subscribe and dive into the comments. What human fiction you think hides a terrifying grain of truth?